Have you ever tried to have a calm, reasonable conversation with someone? And no matter what you said, no matter how logical you were, they just couldn't hear you? They kept talking over you, twisting your words, ignoring every point you made. And somehow they ended the whole thing acting like they won, like you were the problem. And you walked away thinking, what just happened? That feeling, that frustrating, exhausting, almost surreal feeling, has a very specific explanation. And today, we're going to break it all down through the lens of the people who understood human nature better than almost anyone in history, the Stoics. But before we dive in, here's what I want you to do right now. Think of one person in your life who shows at least one of these signs, just one. Keep them in your head as we go through this list, because by the end of this video, you're going to see them and maybe even yourself very differently. And drop a comment below. Which of these 6 signs do you think is the most common? I read every single reply. If you're new here and this kind of content speaks to you, hit that subscribe button right now. We break down Stoic philosophy in a way that actually applies to your real everyday life. You don't want to miss what's coming. Now listen, make sure you stay until the very end because sign number 6 is the one most people never see coming. It's the one that's quietly destroying relationships, careers, and opportunities for millions of people right now, and almost nobody talks about it. Trust me, you do not want to skip that one. All right, let's get into it. 1. False confidence. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, one of the most powerful men who ever lived, wrote in his private journal, Meditations, something that most people in his position would never admit. He wrote about his own ignorance, his own limits, his own need to keep learning. That's wild when you think about it. The man who commanded armies and ran an empire spent his nights reminding himself how much he still didn't know. Contrast that with the guy at the dinner table who's an expert on everything: taxes, medicine, foreign policy, quantum physics, after watching a few YouTube videos. Psychologists call this the Dunning-Krueger effect. The less someone actually knows about a subject, the more confident they tend to feel about it, because they don't know enough to know what they're missing. The Stoics called this kind of person a fool, not as an insult, but as a philosophical category, someone who has mistaken the appearance of knowledge for knowledge itself. Real wisdom, according to Marcus Aurelius, always begins with honest self-examination, not performance, not posturing, honest, uncomfortable self-examination. The loudest voice in the room is rarely the wisest one. 2. Refusing to learn. Epictetus didn't start life in luxury. He was born a slave. He had no formal education handed to him, and yet he became one of the most quoted philosophers in history because he was obsessed with learning, with questioning, with growth. He taught that curiosity isn't just a personality trait, it's a moral responsibility, a duty to yourself. He said, and I'm paraphrasing here, if you want to improve, be willing to appear foolish. If you're too proud to ask a question, you've already decided your ego matters more than your growth. People who avoid new ideas, who get defensive when challenged, who treat learning like a threat rather than a gift, Epictetus would say they've traded their freedom for comfort. And comfort, to a Stoic, is one of the most dangerous traps there is. The mind that stops growing doesn't stay still. It shrinks. 3. Black and white thinking. Here's one you'll recognize immediately. Someone is either completely good or totally evil. An idea is either 100% right or a total lie. There's no in-between, no nuance, no gray area, just a very simple map of a very complicated world. The Stoics had a name for the mental skill required to think beyond extremes. They called it logos, rational, structured thinking, the ability to hold complexity without collapsing it into something simpler. Marcus Aurelius wrote constantly about resisting the urge to label and judge quickly. He'd remind himself to look at a situation from multiple angles before drawing any conclusion. He understood something important. The world is not simple, and any mind that insists on treating it as simple is going to be wrong a lot. Not because the world is trying to trick them, but because they've chosen a map that doesn't match the territory. The ability to say, I see both sides, or it's more complicated than that, that's not weakness. That's one of the most underrated signs of a genuinely sharp mind.
4. Poor emotional control. Seneca wrote one of the most powerful lines in all of Stoic literature. He said, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." That's it. That's the whole thing. Just pause. But it sounds simple and it's genuinely hard, because when we feel provoked, when someone says something that hits a nerve, the reactive mind doesn't want to pause. It wants to fire back, immediately, loudly, without thinking. Seneca spent years studying anger specifically. He wrote an entire essay on it, and what he found was that the people most enslaved by their emotions weren't experiencing them more deeply than others. They just lacked the skill to create space between stimulus and response. That space, that tiny gap, is where wisdom lives. It's not about suppressing what you feel. The Stoics weren't robots. It's about choosing your response rather than just automatically having one. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. A person who can't control their reactions in small moments isn't going to handle the big moments well either. 5. Always blaming others. This one might be the most important point in this entire video. Epictetus taught one foundational idea above all others. He called it the dichotomy of control. Some things are in your power, some things are not. Your job, your only real job, is to know the difference. When things go wrong, the person with a weak mind immediately starts scanning outward. It's someone else's fault. It's bad luck. It's the economy, the system, their upbringing, their circumstances. Everything is the cause except their own choices. Now, and this is important, real hardship is real. Unfair things happen. Life is genuinely difficult and sometimes genuinely unfair. The Stoics knew this better than most. But Epictetus, a man who was literally enslaved, refused to hand over his inner freedom to external circumstances. He taught that your response to what happens to you is always, always within your control. The moment you stop asking, "What can I do here?" and start asking, "Who can I blame?" you've given up the only power you actually had. That shift in responsibility isn't just a philosophical idea. It's the difference between growing through difficulty and being permanently defined by it. 6. Can't handle being disagreed with. Marcus Aurelius had advisors, and he specifically instructed them to challenge him, to push back, to tell him when he was wrong. Think about that. The most powerful man in the world actively asking people to disagree with him, because he understood something most people never learned. If everyone around you always agrees with you, you're not getting smarter, you're just getting more comfortable. A person who can't control their reactions in small moments isn't going to handle the big moments well either. Here's the thing the Stoics understood that I want to leave you with today. None of these weaknesses are fixed. None of them are a life sentence. The Stoic philosophy was never about judging people for where they are. It was about giving every person the tools to become better than they currently are. False confidence can be replaced by honest self-reflection. Closed thinking can be opened by genuine curiosity. Blame can be replaced by ownership. Rigidity can soften into wisdom. But only if you're willing to look at yourself clearly. Only if you're willing to sit with the uncomfortable question, which of these do I actually recognize in myself? That question, that moment of honest self-examination, is where the Stoic journey begins. If this video made you think, drop a comment below. I'd genuinely love to know which of these 6 points hit closest to home. And if you want to go deeper into Stoic philosophy and how to actually apply it to your everyday life, subscribe and stick around. There's a lot more coming.